Welcome back to some new r/petty revenge stories, where people share small victories over those who wronged them. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. And now, let's start with the first story. It's called The Car Dealer. Several years back, I was looking to buy a new car. Something a bit faster and more fitting for my love of driving. While looking around, I was generally pricing up a new Civic Type R, instead of saving for a deposit on a house. This is when I came across a local dealership who had a heavily modified Fiesta ST2. It's a small local dealership run by one guy, who mostly acts as a sort of sales broker for people struggling to sell privately. I contacted the dealer and arranged a test drive during my lunch break that week. I got in, and as I started it up, a warning popped up on the dash saying, "Type pressure sensors not installed." I queried this with the dealer, and he said not to worry, and it would be sorted by the time I bought the car, as it had just come in, and they hadn't been able to do their usual touch-ups. Fair enough. On with the test drive. I pretty much fell in love within 5 minutes. And, long story short, traded my old car in to buy it a few weeks later. When I came to collect the keys, I got in the car, and what do you know, the same warning message has come up. I turned the car off and head back inside to talk to the dealer, and he claims he never agreed to that, and it's only £100 to get them installed, and gave me the contact details for a local garage. He only said he'd get them installed verbally, so I didn't have any proof. Needless to say, I was not pleased. Over the next 4 years, I loved the car, got the sensors installed, and told everybody that story, and to stay clear of him, as he's a liar and generally doesn't treat you well after he's got your money. At the 4-year mark, I was once again looking for a new car, as I'd definitely outgrown the Fiesta. This time I was in the market for an Audi RS3, 2018 or newer, with a budget of around £40,000. I checked all the local dealerships, but none of them had anything like that, except for the same dealership I bought the Fiesta from. I contacted them about it, and once again arranged a test drive. Went on the test drive, had a good time, but honestly wasn't 100% sold. He asked me what I thought, and I lied and said that I loved it, apart from the silver trim on the front. To nobody's surprise, he said he could get that changed if I'd agreed to the sale today. I couldn't hide the massive grin on my face when I said, "No, thank you. I've heard that one before from you," and that turned out to be a lie. There was a moment of confusion, followed by an obvious realization, with a hint of regret. I left without buying the car, despite his best efforts trying to cut me a deal as an apology. The fact was, I simply didn't want to give this guy my money. I went to another dealership and ended up buying a brand new A35, which I've still got to this day and absolutely love. The next story is called Trailer Thief. This story happened over 20 years ago, when the internet was a newish thing and people weren't quite so savvy. My then boss was heavily involved in motorsports, and when you have competition vehicles, you need a large car trailer to take them to events. He had a home-built trailer that was reasonably unique and identifiable, which he stored outside his house. Then, one day, he found that it had been stolen during the night. So he did the normal thing of filing a police report and, after being angry, moving on and accepting it was probably gone for good. Except that he also kept an eye on Trade Me, our local eBay equivalent, on the off chance the thief was stupid enough to list it there for sale. A couple of weeks later, what would pop up in the trailers for sale listings? His car trailer. Repainted, but still identifiable as his. Right down to still having the original color paint visible around the coupling. The question was, how to get it back? My boss went back to the police, who said, "Leave it with us. Trade Me will have to hand over his details. Except that Trade Me said no, that they only had his username and email address. So the police decided that the next best way to get the seller's details was to win the auction. An account was set up with Trade Me, bids were placed, and they let the bidding up until an hour before the auction closed. Remember, I said this guy was stupid for selling stolen goods online? Perhaps he wasn't quite as dumb as I thought, as he smelled a rat and blocked the police account from the auction, and my boss couldn't bid on it, as his location would be a dead giveaway. But my Trade Me account had a history on it of buying motorsport related items, and so it would be natural for me to also buy a car trailer. So I placed a bid and won the auction. I'm told that when my boss contacted the police after the auction, they were pretty glum and didn't know how they were going to identify the seller or auction winner, until my boss told them it was me who won the auction. I then made contact with the seller, managed to get him to agree to payment in cash, and to give me a pickup address and time for the next day. Of course, it was the police who went to collect the trailer at the agreed time on my behalf, and a few hours later, the trailer was returned to my boss, in a better condition than it was when it was taken, and the police were able to arrest not just the seller, but also an accomplice, and recovered a number of other stolen items from the property into the bargain. The third story is called Phone Revenge. My coworker Carl works on site 2 days a week and works from home 3 days a week. Nobody else in our team is allowed to work from home, and yet management won't force him to work on site all 5 days like the rest of us. He blames childcare and travel expenses as reasons he cannot be on site all 5 days. But many of our team face similar issues, and all of them make it on site 5 days a week, every week. On a semi-frequent basis, he'll give one excuse or another as to why he cannot be on site on the days he is supposed to be, and therefore has to work from home. Plumbing emergency, child is sick or has an appointment, the dentist, there's always something. But our manager has no backbone and just wants to be everyone's mate, so won't step up and do anything about Carl. As a result, Carl is not well liked in our team. There are some members of the team who have stated they see him so infrequent they wouldn't be able to pick him out of our lineup. I'm the person who takes the brunt of all of this, as I share an office and duties with Carl. I am pretty strict on the division of work to make it as fair as possible, but the balance is never truly equal. I have to handle almost everything that is on site, including some very time-consuming postal duties, and end up taking most of the calls, because I cannot stand to just let the phone ring. Yes, the phone does transfer to Carl if I don't pick it up, but the phone rings for a long time before it cuts to his work mobile. In recent months, I have to put my foot down with management about making sure Carl is on site on the days he is supposed to be, and for a while, it worked. However, he has called out sick twice on those days. Once during half-term, UK school holiday, and once during the Easter break. Of course, nobody can prove he wasn't sick, but the timing was very suspicious. Also, during the Easter break, on the days Carl was working from home, he was left unable to take any calls, as his work mobile had suddenly stopped working. It would take a while for a replacement to arrive and be set up, and management did not force him to be on site, despite him not having a functioning work phone. A combination of these factors, plus some annual leave Carl took, meant I had over 2 weeks of taking every call and doing the large majority of all our duties. When I confronted Carl about the unfairness of all of this, he was dismissive and unapologetic. To add insult to injury, when he was next on site, after I went above my manager's head to force Carl to be on site until he had a new work phone, he had the audacity to complain about the job and how he needs to find something better, as he's being treated so poorly. It took everything in my power to not roll my eyes right out of my head. Yesterday, Carl was working from home. Yesterday, IT installed new phones in every office. They are not the easiest phones to use, and the instruction manual gives basically no information about how the phones work. So I asked my friend in IT to go over it with me, specifically how to change the ringtone and the volume of the ring. My friend in IT also helped me set up a PIN for the phone, and only those that know the PIN can make changes to the phone setup. On Monday, I leave for a 3-week holiday. On Monday, Carl is on site and will be every day that I am on my holiday. Upper management will be checking to ensure he is in every day. On Friday, before I leave, I am changing the ringtone to the most annoying ring possible. I'll also be turning up the volume as high as possible. And then I'll be locking it all in place with a pin only I know. I've already tested the phones, and the sound of the ring at the highest volume all but vibrates off the walls. When I get home, I will be looking for a new job. I was waiting until after the long holiday to start looking. As a note about how and why Carl is able to get away with all of this. My manager is a pushover and just wants to be everyone's mate. Why higher ups don't try and do more, I do not know. But it may be because employees here are very well protected and very difficult to get rid of. The process to get rid of problem employees can sometimes take years. There are currently several problem employees here that are able to get away with far too much, including one woman who bullies everyone, and another is always off sick, to the point where they are off far more frequently than they are in. The last story is called Penny Revenge. I'm a cashier for a local grocery chain. Our corporate leaders are so penny pinching. They monitor the store's income, and if we undershoot our projected income goal, they'll tell a cashier to go home early to save money. This is on top of our hours being cut. Of course, they have enough hours to hire new staff for the same positions at lower wages. My petty form of revenge is simple. As a cashier, we have a margin of error we can be off by each day before we get a write-up, plus minus $2. Whenever I have to give change, if it's 1 or 2 cents off from a 5-cent mark, 20, 25, 30, etc., I just round up. I'm always minus about 50 cents or so each day at most, but that adds up over time. That is just for a part-time shift. Customers are never shortchanged. And before you say I'm contributing to the rage problem, I point out my boss rides a chauffeured Hummer limo wherever he goes. The regional manager also enjoys trying to fire senior staff. I don't feel too bad about being off a few cents a day. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. And now, I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.